to kick off this video, I want you to do something a little bit strange, but try it anyway. So I want you to imagine yourself aged 90, so 90. Once you've got that image in your head, I know it's a little scary, ask yourself, would you still be working at age 90? Now, there's no right or wrong answer here, and certainly working past 90 isn't for everybody, but there is one person in Hollywood who is still working at that age, and that person is, maybe you can guess, Clint Eastwood. So, Clint Eastwood was born in 1930 and is still making movies, so either starring in them or directing them. And you might remember him from old westerns, but he has done so much more, including the movie that we're going to talk about in this video, which is The Mule. And in fact, The Mule, which is based on a true story, is also about somebody who is still working at age 90, but doing something illegal. So let's find out what the film is all about and if it's any good for English learners. So I have a movie club for English learners, and The Mule was the first movie we watched in 2023, in fact, as part of a Clint Eastwood theme. So we watched three Clint Eastwood movies, and this was the first one. So when I do movie reviews like this one, I create them for English learners based on the experiences of my club members. So what I'm interested in is, did the movie give us interesting and meaningful topics to discuss? Did the club members learn useful new expressions? Did they get exposure to new accents in order to improve their listening comprehension? And was the film too hard or too easy, or was it at the right level? So let's get into it. So The Mule is based on the true story of a World War II veteran, Leo Sharp, who became a drug runner. So that's somebody who transports drugs for the Sinaloa cartel in his 80s. And Clint Eastwood saw the story and decided to adapt it, creating the character Earl Stone, 90-year-old horticulturalist and Korean War veteran who becomes a drug runner when his flower farm business goes bankrupt and he can't get help from his family because he fell out with them many years ago when he failed to attend his daughter's wedding. She stopped speaking to him, his wife divorced him, and now he only really talks to his granddaughter, Ginny. So let's talk about the themes of The Mule. So the best movies for English learners, I find, are ones with interesting themes to discuss because they give you something to talk about. So here are some of the themes that came up in our movie club discussions of The Mule. And these discussions let the club members express deeper thoughts in English and learn new vocabulary for discussing the themes. So, Clint Eastwood adapted the original story of this elderly drug mule, Leo Sharp, into a kind of road movie where we see um, Earl Stone living his life on the road as a drug runner, and he kind of fills in the blanks about what life on the road must have been like. So he also adds parts about a man who has chosen work over family and is now dealing with their rejection. So the movie explores themes to do with work, money, and masculinity. So there's a memorable scene in the movie where Earl, the elderly drug runner, crosses paths, so ends up meeting with Colin Bates, who is an agent from the Drug Enforcement Agency. Now, at this point, they don't know who each other is. So Bates is actually looking for Earl, but doesn't realize that he is face to face with the mule, the famous drug runner for the cartel. So Earl says to Bates, "Don't follow my footsteps and do what I did. I put work in front of family. Family is the most important thing." But why do so many people, especially men, end up putting work in front of family? Is it because they want to, or is it because it's what the system demands? So that's one of the discussions that we had. We also discussed the fact that many people in the USA have to work past retirement age, not because they want to, but simply to survive. And we came across an article with a really shocking statistic. So it said millions of Americans are working into the years when they would typically retire. By 2030, the number of people aged 75 and older in the workforce is expected to grow by 96.5%, according to the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So, for all of our movie club discussions, we use the same questions which spark meaningful conversations, but I also like to add some specific questions for each film. So, in the case of The Mule, here are the specific questions we discussed. So, the critics seem to have quite mixed opinions about this movie. Why do you think that is? What does the movie have to say about money and work? Is it ethical to use bad money for good purposes? So the last question relates to the fact that Earl starts spending the money from the drug runs on his family. So he pays for his granddaughter's wedding and her school tuition, and he also uses the money to help renovate his local Veterans of Foreign Wars building, which was damaged in a fire. So let's get to a brief review part of the movie. So, quick warning, this section does contain spoilers, so you may want to skip it if you plan to watch the movie and don't want it to be spoiled. So, I'm rather sentimental, so I enjoyed the parts of the movie where Earl reconciles with his family and ends up taking a huge risk to choose work or to choose family over work for once in his life at a time when it really matters. And the road trip elements of the movie were fun, but there were some moments that were a bit strange. So at one point in the movie, Earl sees he mistakes a member of a lesbian biker gang for a man, calling her son. And then another biker says, "We're dykes on bikes." And it's kind of like, is that scene just so that we can hear this Earl say dykes? Is that supposed to be funny? And a bit like the movie Gran Torino, which was another movie club choice, you will hear racist slurs during the film. So it's not clear if that's there to shock people or if we're supposed to be laughing at the fact that Earl is, old and out of touch and says racist things because he's elderly. But yeah, I'm sometimes a bit confused as to why Clint Eastwood includes that in his films. But in any case, throughout the film, Earl's white privilege enables him to drive drugs around without any problems, even if he does have a couple of encounters with the police. So the movie received mixed reviews from critics, but overall the club members and I enjoyed it. And in fact, two of them had seen it before and were excited to watch it again. So that's usually a good sign. So can you improve your English with the Mule? So you can use any movie to improve your English, but if you want to do that effectively, you can't just watch the movie passively. You need to engage actively, and you might want to check out my video on how to learn English with Netflix for more tips on how to do this. So, for instance, in terms of active viewing or listening, one of my club members really liked doing dictations. So, this is something we do as part of the club. I give them short lines of dialogue to listen to and write out. And she found that doing that helped her to catch new expressions that she would have missed otherwise. So, in terms of vocabulary from the movie, we learned words to do with law enforcement, such as warrant, informant, and DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Administration. We also learned words to do with bankruptcy and financial difficulty, such as foreclosure, and words and expressions to do with regret, such as I blew it. And in addition to the new vocabulary, The themes of the movie of money and work and family and regret are universal topics that can make for some really fascinating discussions, especially when people from different cultures come together to talk about that. The thing that was tricky to understand in this movie was the fast and unclear speech and slang of some of the members of the cartel. So you'd probably need subtitles to catch the dialogue in those parts of the movie. But if you're a Spanish speaker, there is some good news because parts of the dialogue between the cartel members happen in Spanish. So you'll be able to understand those sections and it will give you a break from listening in English all the time. So thanks so much for watching this Mule movie review for English learners. If you've seen the Mule, let us know what you thought of it in the comments. And if you haven't seen it, tell us, would you like to see it or not? Let us know why. If you're still here, make sure you hit like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And also in the description, you can find out more about my movie club, including the link to join the waiting list to know when the club is open for enrollment. Thanks for watching. Bye.